Okay, let's get started. I appreciate all of you jumping in to this session. We ran a good amount of marketing and a lot of noise around this entire topic of Eliza, just to make sure people they have the right information whether they want to make a decision around that or not. So I asked, some of the best people that I know of in the agency space that are in our world of scaling, first of all, with or without Eliza. So give them credit to where they are, who they are in the work that they've done. So Cayden Phipps and Kieran, both of those guys are in the automotive space. Brad and Bref, they're both in the medical space as well. I've known a lot of these guys for a very long time and what they've done. And Kieran, I don't think I've met Kieran in person, and Cayden I've spoken with several times, but I know about their brands for a very long time. From several programs and things like that I know of. And Bref and I go, I think I've known Bref for maybe 2 or 3 years now. Brad is kind of his engine that handles a lot of the operation side and technology. So either way, the thing with Eliza is there's a lot of confusion around Eliza from my perspective because one, people don't know that it exists. That's one problem, obviously. The other is people don't know what it exactly do for them, right? So what I did was ask Robin and NASA and some of our developers to see if we can put together an event around this. So what I'm going to do is really, instead of focusing a lot on introductory side, I want to just go right into some of the topics I want to cover. And what I'm going to do is, as the host, I'm going to have Cayden, Brad, Kieran, and Bref really talk rest of the way, and I'm gonna go back and forth with them as teams so we can kind of stay organized in your conversation. In the Facebook streaming, if you put down questions, I'll bring that into the conversation if it's relevant. Okay? In other words, I'm gonna get out of the way here as the host. You guys have more than enough capability to go through this. So Brad and Bref, tell us about your agency just a second. Your previous situation before we go into Eliza. Tell us a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, with Clinicgrower, so like you said, Paulson, with the quick intro there, we're all about growing practices, medical, dental practices, systematic approach. And so, as our agency has grown, I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or not, over the last number of years, and we were some of the first guys into GHL when it was about maybe 30 guys in the group. So we've seen the evolution in our agency. We're all about innovation, growing, and GHL, and then by tacking Eliza on top, has enabled us to help us grow our practices, but also to essentially build out a really important part of the puzzle, which is helping them to book more appointments. And so, with our agency, as it's been growing, we're looking to constantly get deeper into helping our clients solve problems. And the problem that a lot of those practices have is with patient 2.0, as we call them, is getting those patients booked, getting to come into the practice. And so when Brad and I saw Eliza, we took a quick look, we got Robin on a call, and then I said, Brad, you got this. And Brad took it and ran with it. And so we've been building out an appointment booking center over the last kind of slow and steady over the last year, but Eliza has helped us to really scale that at good speed. And Brad will definitely talk more about kind of the mechanics, and Brad has he's probably on NASA's Christmas card list at this stage, just from working so closely with him to kind of one of the benefits, I think, obviously, of GHL in the community is the ability to kind of to crowdsource ideas and enhance the product as we go. So I've been excited to see it. On the client results side, it's been extremely helpful. We've seen our clients' results improve, our booking rates improve as we synchronize everything through Eliza. So, Brad, maybe you can talk more about the nuts and bolts of that. But as we steer our agency toward continued growth, Eliza is just going to continues to be a really important part of that.
Yeah, Brad, if you don't mind giving us a 30-40 second overview of the delivery side, we'll go into the technology side a little bit, even more deeper. And what I understand, Bref, you're on the client-facing side, sales side, and Brad's more of the technology side, account management side.
Yeah. Brad's more on operations and more on the business development growth side.
Brad, take it away, buddy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can sum it up real nice and quick. Hopefully, you guys have to send me an Eliza T-shirt at some point. Just imagine consolidating all of your workflows and multiple accounts into one central hub and queue. I think the two issues that Eliza solves on the client side for us is they suck at getting to the phone and they suck at handling conversations. They want us to do that. And when we're running, 45, 50 accounts, that's a nightmare for any individual agent to have single GHL tabs open to know what's coming in. We were using Slack integrations and a whole bunch of other things to alert. Now we have one central location that you guys will see where every conversation can come in. We can pick the teams that we want to send it to. All of the information is there at the fingertips of each of our employees and team members. And it just allows us to get to those leads faster, be more effective, be more on script. And honestly, the clients are loving it. And we're convincing them to continue signing up.
Yeah, so let's hear Cayden's and Kieran's story. And I know I intentionally wanted to go with agencies that had different industries, right? So these guys are on the automotive side, maybe not as conservative as the medical side. So I really wanted their opinion on the same panel. So Cayden and Kieran, take it away, man. Tell us about your story. I know you guys are at 200 clients or more, if I can remember correctly. I remember Cayden's one of his first frustration. He built out a whole entire thing to find out the Eliza setup was there like 6 months after. So me and Cayden had a lot of conversations around that. And I'm like, dude, we need to change up the language on Marketplace, let people know about these things. But yeah, Kieran and Cayden, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll let Cayden jump into it. It's actually quite interesting how similar the dynamic that we have is to Brad and Bref. So I'm on sales and biz dev, and Cayden's all operations. I think I've maybe logged into Eliza 3 or 4 times total. He's the one that's kind of the brains behind everything. But from a high level, kind of an overview on our company, very similar to Clinicgrower. I've been personally in the automotive industry for about 6 years now, doing all sorts of different lead gen and things of that nature. And about two and a half years ago, Cayden and I partnered up, and we really honed in on the lead gen appointment booking side of the automotive shop industry. It's a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's extremely antiquated. And so we decided to come in and shake things up. And so, it was kind of a gradual progression, but, we started just as any typical marketing ad lead gen agency does, with, lead forms and just, basic functionality, sending leads to clients, letting them close things on their own. But much like Brad and Bref described, we quickly found out that these guys sucked at picking up the phone. They sucked at getting back to leads. And so we were also one of the first users of GHL back in 2019, I think is when we signed up. And it was an absolute game changer for our business, being able to sell SaaS, being able to have SMS and email capabilities in the same place, communicate with our customers, do some of the communication for them. And that was kind of the very early days of us tinkering around with communication on our customers' behalf. And then, of course, Eliza just took that to the next level. So I'll let Cayden jump into how that's worked for us a bit.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Kieran pretty much hit the nail on the head. One of the big things that we are huge on within our agency is continuous improvement and just continually trying to set the bar higher and higher. And one of the ways that we've done that is by trying to continually anticipate the next problem. So, okay, now that we've kind of nailed down lead gen for these guys, what's the next problem they're going to have in the sales pipeline? So probably about 6 months into our journey as an agency, we realized that the next problem is going to be closing the leads in the sales process. And as one of the most antiquated old industries out there with a bunch of not very tech savvy people in it, which I'm sure a lot of other agency owners can relate to, they suck at sales. So we quickly realized that we can have that as another value add and allow us to charge even more and package it with our existing lead gen services. And Eliza was kind of like, well, I'll talk about our first solution first. So we were kind of like, okay, how do we do that? How do we put all of our conversations and all of the leads from multiple accounts into one place? So we hired out some agents. We built this crazy cobbled together mess of Integromat and ClickUp, which is fantastic, by the way, and GHL and a few other things that were kind of together, Google Sheets. And it was a total mess. It sucked. It got us by, but we quickly realized that almost 30% of the time the agents were spending was actually just sitting around waiting for GHL to load or waiting for the next lead to load. So when I discovered Eliza, I was like, okay, I wish I knew about this earlier, but it really has allowed us to supercharge the delivery side of things when it comes to booking appointments, and also allowing us to be the trusted partner of these businesses, not just from a marketing perspective, but also as an all-encompassing ecosystem, if you will, for these guys, where they trust us in all aspects of their business, and they really are like running their business out of our playbook now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. And what I would love for us to do is, Cayden's he had volunteered to me, and he's gonna do a quick overview of Eliza as a demo. One, I figured Brad and Bref have probably a HIPAA compliance side. We're not trying to send, everybody patient information. So I asked Cayden to jump in on that. So he's gonna take 5-10 minutes and just go over the technology side so he can share his screen. He's gonna go over their setup, whatever he feels comfortable. I'm assuming in like a dummy account or something. Either way, we're gonna see like an overview of what Eliza actually does from a tech perspective. And you guys know I don't really care about the tech. I'm not a tech guy, and I lean more towards Kieran and Bref when it comes to building the agency side. And that's pretty much what I did with Robin when we first originally scaled our agency. So what I'm going to do is have Kieran and Bref go over the second item on the slide, which is agency packages that sell, in my mind. And they don't have to share their particular packages, but at least inspirations that they feel like could be high ticket value, low ticket, mid ticket, SaaS, whatever heck that makes sense in their experiences. So we'll go over the business development conversation. And then we'll go into Cayden and Brad's experiences of some of the hardships that they've learned on delivery side, account management side, things that go south, and how you really, you look at a lot of the development we have, it's almost like a partnership, right? It's an ongoing process. I'm sure, they're not going to sit around and share their multi-million-dollar SOPs. I never asked them to do that, but they're going to really give you enough to avoid mistakes. So let's keep the conversation going. Cayden, if you don't mind, let me just stop sharing. And if you don't mind, give us your overview of what Eliza really does. And I intentionally asked Cayden to do this instead of NASA or Robin or even anybody on our team, because I don't want it to be a tech type of conversation, right? I want him to just at least give us an idea of the fulfillment side. Go ahead, Cayden.
Yeah, well, we can have a tech conversation too if anyone wants that. But let me attempt to share my screen without giving up any specific client information.
Go for it.
So let me know. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll give the Eliza demo from an agency owner, as everyone else here in this meeting is an agency owner as well, it seems like. So pretty much, like we said earlier, it allows you to centralize all of your conversations from multiple locations into one place. So I have a demo test account here. Our agents are like working live leads right now as we speak. So I wouldn't be able to log into any of their accounts, or else it would mess with their workflow, and don't want to do that, obviously. So yeah, I mean, the simplest way you can put it is pretty much just imagine all of your inboxes from multiple locations in one place. So I have on my phone here a conversation pulled up with one of our just test accounts and stuff. So if I just say, let's say for an automotive shop, they want to get their car detailed. Hello, I want to get my car detailed, or something like that. So I'll text it to the number, and it's going to pop here into Eliza in a second, as you'd expect. So there it is. And you can see here that on the right, if you're the agent that's working the lead, you can see all of the details you need in one super easy, super clear place. So as an agent, if you're in GHL, it's kind of tough to see where the address is, to see where what the contact details for that account might be, or even just to see what time it is there. Because one big issue we face too is when we had our cobbled together mess of everything, we'd have agents calling and not really checking time zones. So we'd be calling leads at like 5 a.m, and we got a whole lot of middle fingers and profanities to us until we realized that, yeah, we shouldn't be calling it at 5 a.m. So it makes it super easy right here. You can see the time, local time for that location. You've got all the details you need on their address and where they are. So now I have the ability to respond as you would in GHL. And then here on the left, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but you can see the location name, you can see the text message here, and they'll just kind of stack up as they come in. You can organize them however is most convenient for us. We use latest first just because we really prioritize what we call speed to lead, which is a huge thing for any agency that wants to close as many as possible, is getting back to leads as fast as possible. So yeah, that's the basic functionality, but where the real magic happens, in my opinion, is here in the FAQs. So you have the ability within Eliza to configure FAQs per location, which basically allows you to take all of the stuff that your agents are saying anyways and standardize it. So what we actually did is basically we interviewed all of our most successful clients to kind of understand the sales process and what was working well for them. This was back in the day before we even had agents or had Eliza or anything. And we kind of just codified and took their process and turned it into a question-based framework that we now use to talk to leads, qualify them, schedule them. And I'm sure the process is similar for everyone else in here. So you have all your FAQs here. I haven't filled in the details because that's not really how our process works on a test account, but you can see here the intro text. We can basically just pre-populate it right into the SMS field by clicking this button, which is super easy. So as soon as they text us here, we'll just text them back and say, hey, send the message. This is Danny with whatever. Sorry, you're looking for a ceramic coating. What color is your vehicle? So we'll just click send there, and that'll pre-populate with all the details. So, hey, Cayden, happy Monday. This is Danny, test location. What color is your vehicle? So just to start the conversation, this is typically the first question that we use for a lot of our clients and locations. So the cool thing too is that this still applies to all of the GHL workflows. So you can still use the contact replied workflow action within, or workflow trigger within workflows, which is super cool. So you can still set up automated campaigns back and forth in here. But for us, we pretty much only use manual human response for a lot of it. And then you can also, as you'd expect, you can make phone calls through here too, just right there. You can call and it'll call up my phone. What you don't want to do, you can blind transfer, warm transfer. So some of our clients prefer to talk to leads directly after we've qualified them. So we actually have a process for just transferring the call directly to the client. And then you can also, if you have a ton of lead volume coming through locations, you can actually have it be able to be swapped between agents. So you can have 2, 3, 4 agents assigned to one location and have them be able to send them back and forth to each other once they get to a certain point. So we actually have one client we do this with where once we've qualified the lead, we transfer it to someone else that actually calls them and usually books the appointment. And so that's just it's a high level overview. You've got all of your contact details as you'd expect to have in GHL here, all of your custom fields here. You can book appointments. I've tested with a couple different things here. You got all the notes, all the tasks. So all the same information you have in GHL is here in Eliza, except you can have all the locations here on the left. And yeah, I think that's most of it. Yeah.
So one question that I always get is like, well, how is Eliza related to High Level, right? And we've had a lot of people that just simply doubt what Eliza really is. And I keep telling people, listen, we built this thing as a separate brand because we knew that we needed to separate it in the beginning of the stages. But honestly, it's the exact same platform. We just have it integrated between so many different locations. And ultimately, you guys are all smart enough, a lot smarter than me when it comes to bridging all these solutions and features together. So you can deliver even sales as a service or even appointment setting as a service or simple management of operations. So yes, Eliza is High Level in its own. We just branded it as a separate unit. It may seem like it's another platform. I even had somebody ask me, "Are we an affiliate of Eliza?" I'm like, "What? That doesn't make any sense. Like we can't pay ourselves for ourselves." Either way, this is something that we've built, and a lot of these agencies that we have on this panel, these are all folks that we pay a lot of attention to. And there's actually a whole Eliza, kind of an inner circle kind of thing where the top players, we listen to them and how they're managing things, and we develop things according to that. Brad, is your setup very similar, or do you have more modifications? If so, what are some things that you can probably add to Cayden?
Yeah, so Cayden and I jam on a regular basis. Brothers from other mothers. So a lot of the time, how we're using the FAQs and stuff is very similar. One step that we've gone even further. So we had seen kind of, as I shared with you, Paulson one-on-one, about a 40% increase in efficiency with the agents, just not having to go back and forth between multiple tabs. And now what we're doing is, again, we're continuing to shadow those agents. And what we're now doing is we're actually developing workflows through tags rather than just the dispositions, so that those leads will actually reintegrate back into Eliza in 24 hours or 18 hours or 6 hours, again, like Cayden said, based on the time zone that they're in. So if we make a call out to them, they're not just kind of sitting here waiting for another manual process. We're really thinking, okay, like maybe that one agent now needs to move on to 5 others, but we've got another agent that's on a low volume of leads. We want to bring that person in tomorrow to kind of be reached out again. So I think at this point, we're reaching out about 6 times over 6 business days, including Saturdays, to our clients. We're able to do that in a really efficient way, rather than them. They used to have like notepads and same thing, Google spreadsheets and things like that. We've just been able to automate it beautifully so that it's just, you're watching that lead through the process of getting them booked, and you're really confident that they're going to get caught.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share, Cayden, on this?
I think I could talk about the dispositions real quick since Brad touched on it, but
Sure.
basically the dispositions allow you to tag conversations based on the outcome. That's probably the simplest way I can put it. So for us, we actually got creative with it, and we use the dispositions here to dictate when we do want to follow up. So the agent has the ability to let us know that they booked an appointment, which we use for internal tracking, or they have a few different follow-up options they can choose from, which will automatically bring them back into the queue based on the time that they choose here. So the dispositions are pretty cool and very useful for our tracking purposes to be able to see, okay, what's our conversion rate on these leads and how long are they taking to turn into an appointment or a sale for the client. So that's about it. I think I'll stop sharing.
Sounds good. So, Kieran, help me understand the business development side of how you're looking at this. So, and I know, Bref, you're probably going to want to chime in on this. My thought process is, well, these guys suck at managing sales. I might as well just take that over and not have to teach them and coach them and then babysit them on closing deals that they should be able to close while running their business. I mean, that's very similar in almost all the industries, right? But some industries just need it so badly, and automotive is one of those. Kieran, how did you guys first decide to just jump into this side of things?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to note is that, every business needs leads. Every business needs to close deals to stay in business. And so obviously that's where we started, and we didn't do any appointment booking. We didn't do any client communication for the first couple months that we ran the business. But we quickly realized not only are we going to retain clients longer if we start to encroach on those types of services, but we're also going to be able to control the outcome that these businesses receive when working with us. And so the more we call it kind of the closed loop, the more of that cycle that we can control in the customer journey for our customers, the more retention that we're going to have with our clients. And so that's when we started using Go High Level to do the client communication, to do automations, and we started building our own workflows around things that we saw to work. Certain days and times, certain word tracks, and certain things that we just knew worked with these types of automotive services that we were selling for our clients. And so that was kind of the V1 of what we were doing. But I think the biggest reason why Eliza is so useful for our agency is the simple fact that inherently any service-based business that requires this level of involvement from a human capital perspective, where we actually have to go in and we have to contact the leads, or our sales agents have to contact the leads, stay in touch with them, follow up 5 to 7 times, keep track of appointments, keep tracks of shows and no shows. There's a lot of moving parts in these things. And of course, when you have 200 clients who each have hundreds of leads and hundreds of customers themselves, that's an exponentially more difficult task than just managing conversations for one business. And so anything in this world that we live in that can reduce the amount of human capital required, or reduce the amount of time that each individual or each person on our team has to invest into, closing one deal with one customer, is going to make our lives as agency owners so much easier. It's going to require, less hiring. We're going to have less hiring constraints. We're going to have less workflow restraints. We're going to have less day-to-day bottlenecks in terms of spikes in lead quality and things of that nature, which is something that a lot of us deal with as agency owners using High Level, I'm sure. And so really the existence of Eliza has just really allowed us to not deal with as many bottlenecks. And I think that's really at the core of it. For a service business to grow, reducing the amount of time needed to invest in the end result for the customer is always going to open up the ability to bring on more customers and sell more, and of course generate more revenue.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, like, I've done it the hard way of putting together in my own agency of, to be flat honest, a rinky-dink call center that'll just call all the leads. It's not the same. It's really not. And also I've tried the approach of flying into these dentist offices and spending time with them, and I would spend like a week and a half coaching and lunching them out, and photography and videography and all this stuff, and then we'll bring in leads that are good for like 2-3 weeks, and then a month later, like, Paulson, I'm busy doing patients now because you brought all these leads in. I'm like, well, I just shot myself in the foot with success. Right? And that's literally the cycle you would have to go through until they understand how to get out of the operations. And Bref, I assume your experience is probably similar to what I'm talking about in Kieran, and you're probably familiar with it.
Yeah.
How did you guys decide to jump into this whole sales as a service type of side of things?
Yeah, well, I mean, you nailed it, Paulson, as well. And your experience going into dental as well. You know that with those practices, they're not trained to convert cold sales in the front end. They can take referrals all day long. It's kind of bread and butter. But the way we got into it was, when Brad and I teamed up forces, similar to what Cayden and Kieran have, we were solving, a part of the problem, which is generating leads and inquiries. And, you can use automations, you can use all this stuff to get people in touch with people. But then they were dropping the ball there as well. They're not following up. They're not engaging on the call. They're not taking warm transfers. So we decided to solve that. And, we did it sequentially as well. We used GHL without Eliza. Eliza became available. We onboarded it. But, as part of our sales process now, I think Cayden kind of mentioned the way that Eliza can be used is through kind of a question-based framework to move people through a process to get them booked. And with our sales process, it's very similar as well. We'll speak with dentists and Pulse. You just mentioned that you fly into the office, you can wine them and dine them. Things are great. But then as soon as the doc gets busy and they're left with the front desk staff who really don't want the extra work to do, it becomes a problem again. All of a sudden the lead suck and they're in his ear. So the problem that Eliza solves for us is we're able to put these people in touch with people to practice ASAP. And so in the sales call that we'll have with the doc, when we're showing him the system, showing him how many, they all love leads, right? They want more and more leads, more implant leads, Invisalign, high case value patients that we specialize in. So we'll show them how we can get them. And then we'll ask that question. And how would you rate your team's ability to reply to each of these patients within 5 minutes? And that's when you'll see the facial expression, or, you'll hear the silence on the phone. And when they get really honest, they don't rate their team's ability. And so that's where we came in, which is taking that pain and that problem away from them by being able to follow up, to book, to, with Brad's medical background, to be able to follow a best practice approach to get these people, these leads, emotionally engaged and logically engaged so that the appointment booking becomes no problem. And also with the features of, GHL and Eliza, from a medical standpoint, no-shows are an issue. So to be able to ask for and take that deposit or that credit card verification with confidence has been huge too. So we've been able to bring all that to rapidly increase the show rates of these practices. And from a sales standpoint, we sell it up front, we can cross-sell it, down-sell it. It depends on what that practice is saying. If they're confident in their team and you just know that's a thing where they love their front desk and they're not gonna, have you handle their leads, then we let it go. We monitor, we assess, we do scorecards on their performance. And then once they realize they suck, we'll upsell Eliza, upsell our appointment booking center. Or we can just as easily bake it into the service, into the sale on the front end if they need that problem solved. So there's a lot of activations for it. And, I think it was Kieran mentioned, or Cayden, as far as the retention, it allows us to retain clients longer. It becomes more hands-off for the practice, and just becomes an easier sale overall as well.
Yeah, and Bref, I don't know if you know this, but my third agency that I started was in automotive, and I shared this with Cayden. And what we were doing was just focusing on lift kits, right? So I had all these guys in Texas saving up their lunch money to buy $7,500 lift kits all over these trucks, and we were just running Spanish ads and English ads all over Texas, right? And we would send them these leads, and they first will be excited, and then as soon as they get into smaller, little detailing jobs or, repairs and all the other ones, what happens is they'll just want to deal with the highest tickets, and the rest of 80% of leads they don't handle, right? So and if they don't close any of those high ticket opportunities, guess what? You're kind of SOL, because they prioritized so-called better leads while the volume was not rising, right? And I'm so glad I sold that agency and got out of that industry in multiple reasons. But at the end of the day, you'll even see, businesses trying to create loopholes around things that you have established and you've proven as a business for multiple people in the industry. And they're going to want to take these shortcuts. Eliza cuts a lot of those shortcuts off. You just can't cheat the system. Like, your agent is there, they're answering in 30 seconds or 2 minutes. These are the conversations that happened. There's such a heavy amount of attribution in the sales process and that cycle management that your clients really don't have a say anymore in what you're bringing to the table. Like, they don't have a lot of ammo to come and be like, well, these leads are kind of garbage. Well, that's not the truth. We have data to show you the real truth, and that's one thing that I've always noticed that Eliza helps a lot with. Now, Kieran, going back to you, man, could you share of your experience of the positioning, like the sales side of things? Did y'all's packages change because now you're taking on a whole new thing? I know Cade had told me that you guys pretty much do high ticket at this point and it's not worth anything else, right? And what was that difference versus just regular Facebook ads or Google ads or, I guess SEO? Like,
Yeah. It was night and day, and we've had a really interesting like evolution of what our product is over the years. When we first got started, we were basically a month-to-month low-ticket Facebook ads agency, a glorified Facebook ads agency. And that's all we were. And then when we got into go high level, we kind of morphed into like a more of like a tech-enabled marketing agency where we could sell. Our retention increased because we were providing the SaaS and the actual CRM, the white labeled GHL with our lead gen services. And, at this point, our clients were still handling their own leads for the most part, but there was a little bit more stickiness due to the fact that, they were actually using an app on their phone and a white labeled CRM and everything. And they liked that. And so that worked, when we were doing 6 figures a year. But when we hit that 6-figure a month mark and we had over 100 clients, that's when, at that scale, we kind of realized, oh crap, these guys have no idea what they're doing from a sales perspective. And it was also because a lot of our initial clients were those higher end shops with those more experienced shop owners who knew how to do sales better than the average Joe, and they were handling it just fine. And so, of course, with scale came a lot larger variety of clients. And so we realized, oh man, these guys are not the normal shop owner. The normal shop owner has no idea what they're doing. They can't close anything. They're not following up with leads. They're too busy. And so that's when we started implementing these things. And at that point, when we pivoted the business, we raised our prices. And then, after that, we started implementing 90-day guaranteed contracts. And so now we have these 90-day contracts, which 3x our retention. And then we were also able to double our fee, and people are happily paying it now because largely in part due to Eliza, because on the fulfillment side, Cayden and our operations team can actually deliver on the promises that we're making to these clients with things like response time, things like guaranteed appointments, guaranteed lead volume, all these things that we're promising on the front end, on the sales and biz dev side of the business. We can actually deliver on them more effectively than we could in the past because we're not bottlenecked with Eliza. And so now moving forward, so that's where we're currently at. And we're actually in the process of transitioning again and morphing into a new version of selling our services, where we're actually doing something similar to what Brad and Bref were speaking to, where we're actually going back and we're selling low ticket again as kind of an entry level package, and then upselling the Eliza lead management for even more than what our current 90-day contracts are worth. And so we're kind of splitting off and letting, some of the lower ticket clients handle their own stuff. And we're still selling SaaS to them. We're still selling lead gen to them. And then on the high end, we're doubling our prices again, basically, and going for those higher end shops that, that want that kind of handheld experience and that Eliza lead gen appointment booking kind of end-to-end solution. So.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Kieran's saying is, I've seen a lot of people do like this, rinky-dink lead transfer system for $10, and like that's not the same thing as what we're talking about. Just so you guys understand, these are high-ticket operations where your clients are going to pay you $3,500 to $5,000, and you're essentially providing a sales department for them with results to show. That's not the same thing as, hey, let me generate a fancy lead for $10 and it's going to be $15 to you, buddy, so you can go sell, something, hopefully, right? That's not the same thing. Now, Brad and Cayden, can you guys talk to the operators of agencies, the guys that are in the thick of things, in the trenches, that are on the solution delivery side. What are some things that you guys have learned? Because one thing I can tell you in building agencies, guys, there's the business development guys and then there's the operation guys. We battle a lot in a friendly way. Damn it, you shouldn't have oversold this. Now I got to fulfill this. Why did you do this? This is not part of what we promised on an offer. These are the multi-year conversations I've had, just so you guys understand, with almost every partner in almost every business, right? So Brad and Cayden, tell us your views on this whole entire, ecosystem of the service. Brad, you want to go first? Go for it. Or Cayden, you got your microphone on. Go ahead first.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to. So you're totally right. Those are definitely the conversations we have. I mean, it's the classic. I don't know who here has read Rocket Fuel, but the visionary integrator combo, and I think that's a very, very lethal combo when you do it properly. So love Kieran to death, obviously, but he does like to sell and he does like to make audacious claims, which, I mean, it helps us maintain our authority position in the industry. But the back end part is never been easy and never will be easy because, like I said, we like to always try and move the needle as much as we can. So every little bit helps. And that's where I really think Eliza helped us quite a bit, is because, like I said, we did kind of a time study. I have an engineering background. We did a time study of our agents and what they were spending their time on. And almost 20 to 30% of their time was spent just waiting for these different screens to load or Google Sheets and all this crazy cobbled together mess. And so at the current rate we were paying our US based agents, we were losing, well, when we changed to Eliza, we were saving close to 30 grand a year just in expenses and save time from these agents. So not only that, but the time that they're using to now be talking to leads more increased our client results proportionally, which helped us retain more and basically just supercharge the results we were already providing. So the next bottleneck that we had after that was finding the right talent for our agents. So that's a whole other conversation though that I can speak to if people like. So that's been our experience though, is, I mean, huge cost savings, but on top of that, our agents love how efficient it is compared to our previous solution. And our agents are pretty much strictly performance-based in terms of their compensation. So, I mean, they're making more money, clients are making more money, we're saving money as a company. And so everyone wins. And when everyone wins, it's a no-brainer.
And these agents are in-house for you? Or is that more multi-variation? Okay, they're all in-house.
Yeah. So we've gone back and forth between an offshore team and US-based people. And for our client base and the price point that we charge, we pretty much use only a US-based team now, which has also been I could talk for hours about that too, but yeah.
Yeah. Brad, if you want to chime in, that'd be great.
Yeah, and then the approach that Cayden knows that we have taken is, our approach, we don't call it a call center, we call it a booking center. And my whole goal as we've been building out this team is I want to go to every call center and poach their best talent, because I can pay them almost the exact same wage and say, look, your workflow is better, your environment's better, you're going to get more performance, you're going to get more bonuses, you're going to get more of this, come here. And they know that they're not having to run into a dialer and pick up their ringed piece of paper and read off all the different things that they need to do or have two screens. They're consolidated on one spot. Their job is to work through a flow. And I mean, there's no agent that I know that doesn't want to get to a lead fast, because they know, again, their opportunity to convert that is higher if they're compensated appropriately for it. I mean, it's a win. It's a win for us. It's a win for growing the team.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I do want to ask you guys, Cayden and Brad, is like, what's the automation side versus manual side? Even though it's all consolidated, what is the delivery? What does that really look like? Because I get questions like, well, can I just throw this all into workflows and automate the heck out of every tag and just not have to have a person that handles most of it, and then maybe hand off 20% of what the sales cycle really is to the client? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll go first, maybe, and get Cayden's opinion next. I would say it's the opposite, Paulson, right? So for anyone who doesn't know Eliza's kind of two features that we're talking about, maybe we want to distinguish that a little bit, later in the discussion. You've got kind of the human rollover, which is the platform that we kind of previewed. And then you've got the booking bot, which is essentially that ability to reach out to the person through Dialogflow and say, like, hey, here's our calendar. Here's the calendar we want to assign the lead to. Do you want to book directly? We would say that probably about 10 to 15% of our leads will go through the automation of the AI and request an appointment. Our team is then going to still confirm live with them. But about 80% of the leads, we're still going to need to touch point with them. They're not going to respond just through the automation.
Right. So can we just unpack that just so people understand the difference between the platform versus the system, right? Like maybe Kieran and Bref could articulate it better when it comes to the sales side. How do you guys sell that or position that?
Yeah. I mean, it's really simple. Obviously, the Eliza is just used for internal streamlined efficiency. Whereas to kind of break it down, I think one of the biggest things, even for me when Eliza was launched, is I didn't really understand exactly what it was. And I think that's probably why we're all here today, right? And so just to make it super simple, the Eliza Go High Level ecosystem and the fact that they both kind of coexist allows us as an agency to sell SaaS. So we can sell access to the white label CRM to our customers, and they can actually use it for doing their own thing, talking to their own leads. They can use it for reviews and reputation management, whatever they want to use it for. They can have it. They can use the app. They can use the web app. They can use whatever they want. And it doesn't interfere with anything that we're doing in Eliza, because we, like I was saying earlier, with our pricing structure, we have that do-it-yourself program, which is lower ticket. And then we have the done-for-you program, which is higher ticket. And so all the do-it-yourself guys that we work with, they basically just have Go High Level, white labeled. We're selling SaaS to them, and we might even be doing some lead gen for them. And they're kind of just on their own. And it's easy, low ticket revenue for us to just kind of collect every month. Whereas Eliza is used internally, and it's used for all of the customers where we're doing conversation and lead conversation management and appointment booking for our customers on our customers' behalfs. And that's where our agents sit. We call them our virtual shop receptionists. That's where they sit all day and make shit happen, for lack of a better term. And that's where they do all their appointment booking, and they really streamline their workflow. So that's really the core difference between GHL being the client-facing SaaS tool and Eliza being the internal streamlined conversation tool.
Got it. And where does the human rollover pieces kind of fall in place, Brad? Is that optional? Is that?
Yeah, so I can show, if it's okay, I can show kind of what an example workflow for like a brand new lead would look like.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't
I
mind.
think that might be the easiest way for people to kind of understand what we're kind of talking about here.
And guys and gals that are watching, I'm going through the Facebook streaming to look at your questions. So the last like 15, 20 minutes, we're just going to go through a ton of questions just so you understand that are relevant. So yeah, go ahead, Brad, if you don't mind sharing.
So this would be an example of, I'm just kind of, sorry guys that I'm on a little share here, but this would be an example of a workflow that we have inside of a snapshot, right? So in this instance, we've got a form that's submitted from, a landing page on one of the funnels. And what we're going to do first is we're going to send it to, in this instance, because it's dental, we're going to send it directly to the platform, to an agent, like Cayden showed in the demo, so that lead can be there. It can be called really quickly. But simultaneously, what we're doing is we're also sending that lead to the Eliza AI appointment booking bot. So in the event that it's a weekend, it's after hours, we don't have an agent that can get to them in 5 minutes, at about 7 minutes, there's a message that will come to that person as the first part of the campaign. That's going to be like, hey, saw you didn't book your appointment at, Dr. Joe's office for your dental implants. Would you be available to book that right now? I can send you the times that are available. And the patient's going to kind of go, oh, yes. And it's going to say, awesome. I've got Monday at this time, Tuesday at this time, Thursday at this time. And they kind of go back and forth in that conversation. The agent's still going to see it. And if they can get to that person and interject, they can still do the human rollover side and take it on. But if it's 3:00 in the morning, like we call ours Kate. So patients are always like, oh, I talked to Kate at 3:00 in the morning and she booked me. It was wonderful. And the dentists are kind of laughing because they don't want to tell the patient that Kate's not real. But it does give the patient the perception that there was somebody interacting back and forth. But again, if we have the ability to put a person on the line, we want to do that. But not everyone's going to answer the phone. Some will want to kind of book through text while they're at their desk at work.
That's hilarious, the difference we've had between texting people late at night, because pretty much across the board, we get people saying like, who are like just lots of profanity when we're texting people that late. But I guess it's just the automotive market versus medical people that need it done like pretty urgently, I'm assuming. That's really funny.
Yeah. And silly question. So when it comes to time zones and stuff like that, it's all just within the system, right? So your practices in California and Florida, they don't need like multiple systems or anything. It's all synchronized where our high level system will just automatically see where the contact time zone is and just behave accordingly. Is that right? Okay, cool. Let's do this. I see a ton of questions, but for all of you that are in here in the Zoom room, let's just open up a couple of conversations. If anybody want to ask, if you want to turn your microphone and camera on, as long as you have a shirt on, feel free to just ask a question if that's something you want to do.
I just Nando, I posted it on the chat, but this guy just want to know, is the FAQ, like if you have multiple accounts and the answers need to be different per account, is the FAQs pop up based on the account, or just one standardized FAQ for everybody?
I'll chime in on this one. Yeah, so what you can do is actually set up FAQs per location, but the really cool feature that we use is you can set up FAQ templates. So for us, for example, based on which kind of shop they are, whether they do detailing, whether they do ceramic coating, just general service, vinyl wraps, whatever, we have a whole set of FAQs that gets pre-populated into their account that we then basically fill out the details on. So you can actually set up templates that get imported to the FAQs per location, in addition to being able to configure it individually per location.
And also one more thing, if anybody has any doubt in your mind about niching down, I promise you, I have yet to see an agency scale to large numbers when they're not niche down. The only way I've seen it is when they're doing print media, radio ads, billboards, and everything else under the sun with services. And like, I have yet to see anybody scale except for like a few. Okay. So these guys are scaling with expertise in the industry. How well do you think their FAQs are versus somebody that just have one-off client in the industry, right? You're learning behavior of their customers. Now you're building systems around it. Now business development has better ammo. Now you have credibility in the industry. Now your ads make sense. Now your audience is actually relevant to you. So you have to really pay attention to what your business strategy is. So you should niche down so you can have the best offer that's possible. Anybody else that have questions in the Zoom room? I see Dave that just jumped in. Philip, Charlie, anybody have any questions before I read through the Facebook questions?
Well, I had a few questions mainly about how do you guys, like, I think you guys have a lot of experience on building those booking centers and call centers. We're currently starting to build a call center. We started using Eliza actually a few days ago, and we've gotten a lot of appointments. Sometimes when they answer and it doesn't really, like the answers or questions that Eliza can't actually answer. We want to send that to the text center, I guess. My questions are like any type of systems for call or booking centers, or systems for, or also like any advice on how to train a call center or build your own call center, like any type of advice that you will have on that side.
Are you asking about the agents and how they would handle some of those things that when they're dropping off from the automations? Is that what your question is?
Yeah, I guess that like you guys at scale are managing a lot of people, and you need to have systems to make sure that the quality and the performance is good for the call centers and the booking centers, I guess.
Oh, I'd love to talk about this one because this is something we actually struggled with for quite a bit. Just full transparency, we had a lot of issues with quality because the clients that we're dealing with are very specific subject matter expertise people that know a lot about something. And that's also why they are not great at sales, is because they love working on cars and they don't know much else in terms of like people skills and sales and stuff. They love working on cars, so they know a lot about it. So for us, what we actually did when we got started with this was we looked at all of our most successful clients that that were selling their own leads and working within GHL, and basically approached them and said, hey, so we're thinking about offering this as a service where we book the appointments for you. Would you be open to collaborating and helping us develop this program and developing the right scripts and processes and, like I said, question-based frameworks to properly sell? So I would honestly, I don't know how many clients you have, but I would take the existing clients you have that are getting great results and partner with them and work with them to develop the proper scripts and processes in place. The best thing I can say for for agents is to look at it the same way you look at a outside or outward facing sales position, where you want to set KPIs and goals and standards and set probably a commission-based compensation structure that allows them to really just shoot for the moon. And as soon as I started looking at it the same way I look at our closer positions for our own sales, that's when things clicked a lot more for us. And that, combined with partnering with our most successful clients, allowed us to build a fairly successful agent team.
And also, I would echo that as well. I've never looked at our booking center as a service-based business. I've looked at it as a business development-based service. So I'm not looking for people with 10, 20 years of service experience. I'm looking for people that understand how to use tonality, persuasion, can follow a script, can be consistent, are shooting for performance. They understand that, multiple times during the week, we're doing call reviews, right? We call it impact training, right? We'll pick a topic for one of our clients and we'll make sure. So that script is something that they're looking at every single day. They understand that if they waver off of that script, they're going to see their metrics drop. That's going to affect their performance. Their performance is going to affect their compensation. That's just how I've done it. I think Cayden, it sounds like, has a similar approach as well. Doesn't mean that you can't build it another way. That's just in my experience, having done it for pharmaceutical, clinical research, now doing it for medical. It works really, really well.
That's a great question.
Great, awesome.
Really, I appreciate that. Because people building is, oh my gosh, it's one of the hardest things on planet Earth. Because as an entrepreneur, you're on your own. You don't have to answer anybody. Then you realize you need help pretty soon. And that's when you really kick in and figure out your true skills as a leader. And that's a very hard thing to do. Even at high level, we just celebrated our 200th employee. It's still difficult. I'm telling you, it's still difficult trying to create structures, trying to figure out who's who and things like that. And we're still learning from guys that have 1,000 employees or multiple teams and things like that. So that's an ever rolling skill. It's not something that you're going to just get from somebody's fancy SOPs, just so you know. Those are things that you develop over time. Any other questions from any of you that are in the Zoom room before I go to the was this helpful? Was the structure of this conversation helpful? Do you guys feel like panelists, you guys feel like you got enough information out? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I got a quick question about how many conversations do you feel an agent can do at one given time?
With Eliza, I would assume quite a bit.
But to be able to, say across multiple locations, and we work in the pool and spa niche. So we have about 200 clients selling hot tubs and pools, and we're now going to start using Eliza to book appointments and facilitate that. But I'm just wondering how many agents we would potentially need. We're not going to start with all 200, but if we want to start with 10.
How long are their sales cycles? That's probably where I would start.
Typically, right now it's not long because the demand is high, but it could be up to 3 months.
Well, 3 months is long enough.
Yeah,
that's a pretty long sales cycle. For us, I can only really speak to automotive, but our average sales cycle, I would say, is about 72 hours, like 3 days or so, from lead generation to customer decision, whether that's a no or an appointment. And for us, our average virtual shop receptionist is handling around 30 locations, and there's about 6 to 8 active conversations daily in each one. And typically 7 to 10 touch points before a decision is made by the customer. Would you say those numbers are pretty on point, Cayden?
Yep, that's about spot on. I was going to say our agents, I'd say, typically handle between 250 to 300 conversations a day. But obviously very, very dependent upon sales cycle and length of conversation. Most of the time when we do get them on the phone, we're having a 15 to 20 minute discussion with them about their vehicle, what they want to do, and helping them make that decision with our US based agents. But yeah, very, very dependent upon your situation.
Okay.
As far as once you get the lead and Eliza starts, so Eliza is basically all text-based, right? So how many % of the leads do you find responding or not responding? Do you find it they're responding much better because they're doing text based. Sorry about that, guys.
You're good, Joe. I think your question was really what's the efficiency of Eliza using text versus a lot? Like, do you feel like there's better response rates?
I would say it's about the same response rate wise with the same text, because it's still the same functionality as high level, which is just having a text conversation. But Eliza does allow Facebook Messenger, email, GMB, Instagram, DM, all the same channels that are available in high level are also available on Eliza. But where the true increase will come in terms of conversion rate and getting better results for your clients is just in letting your agents or whoever's working your leads get to those leads faster. So the lever you're pulling is really just the speed that you're getting back to them with, and then also the efficiency of the follow-ups. So even though you will be sending probably the same texts or the same conversational flows, it's going to happen a lot quicker. And I think the stat is like something like 70% of leads will end up choosing the business that gets in contact with them first. So if you can be the first one to do that and the first one to either text them or call them, then you're going to get them as there's a good chance you're going to get them as a customer. So the speed at which it happens is really where Eliza shines. And like I said, it saves us a significant amount of money every single year and allows us to make our clients more money, our agents make more money, everyone wins.
Also, basically, your rep is doing both calls and as well as managing Eliza, with a text platform. Okay.
Whatever's required to close them. We kind of give them instruction on when to make phone calls, but I'd say probably more than half of our appointments get booked purely via SMS. But a good chunk of them happen with phone calls as well. So we kind of give them flexibility in that.
Okay. Now, do you use pre-built script or do you do anything with Dialogflow? Or
we personally don't use Dialogflow or the booking bot for anything. Maybe we should. I haven't really dove into it too much, to be honest. But I'm a huge fan of using question-based frameworks because, like I said, we're in a very, very niche specific industry where there's a lot of subject matter expertise required to properly sell the things that our clients are selling. So instead of confining our agents to a very, very rigid script, we basically just give them question-based frameworks to help qualify the lead. And then at that point, uncover the pain points and why they really want to get this done to their vehicle, and then pushing the urgency. I mean, just sales 101 stuff, but we don't really use scripts. We use question-based frameworks is what I like to use.
Also, another thing I want to add on to what Cayden said is, I asked Robin, Alex, and also NASA. I was like, hey guys, which agencies are just crushing it? Like, which agencies are the best when it comes to Eliza? And both of them said, Paulson, honestly, if the agencies have at least 100 clients or more, they'll really understand the power of Eliza. So if you're on this call and if you're not at least 100 clients, I would say just wait. I would say get really good context to who your clients are, what their sales process is, understand who they are, what are their products, what are their services. Get to that level of at least 100 clients before you really, really go full force on Eliza. And the only reason I'm saying that is because you're gonna eventually, if you don't do that, let's say you build this in at 20 clients, by the time you're at 50 clients, you're gonna have to rebuild that whole entire process because you're now finding out a bunch of stuff. Okay, so just a random note, and that probably means less people sign up for Eliza, and I think I'm okay with that because I want really the right agencies, top agencies using this thing, because we're really still in the process of rebuilding and really creating a lot of things around it. I really appreciate a lot of you in here. Let me just go through a few questions on the Facebook streaming. Joe, I guess you just jumped in, so your answers are done. Let's see. Let's go through some overview last note from Bref and Kieran. When it comes to the sales side, how should an agency, let's say I'm at 100 clients, maybe like Philip, right? He's at 200 clients. How do we migrate into this Eliza offer as an agency? Dave says, can I drop a question? Yes, of course. We'll do another round. But Bref, or Kieran, how do you recommend a big agency to transition into this? Where do we start?
Yeah, I think the simplest answer is there isn't really a transition that's required. I think the most important thing is once you have Eliza integrated, it's just going to instantly save you time and save your team time, which just opens up more capacity with the same team size. So I would say that our capacity for for clients without increasing our headcount of employees was probably like doubled when we started implementing Eliza. So that's like the quickest, most obvious kind of advantage to having Eliza. Now, in terms of selling it differently, I think that just really comes back to, every industry is a little bit different, but for us, it just makes it so much easier for us to sell that done for you end to end. We will generate, nurture, book, and follow up with every single lead that we generate for you, and selling it more as kind of like an outsourced front desk or an outsourced receptionist type of offer, which is really sexy these days, and business owners are really interested in that type of offer versus your typical lead gen Facebook advertising agency, which has been around forever, and most business owners have been burned by one or two, right? And so I think it differentiates you, and it provides something that a lot of business owners are looking for, which is having that end-to-end service. And Eliza just allows us to deliver on that service a lot easier and with less headcount.
Yep, I'll just echo what Kieran said there as well. Like for us, the actual sales process hasn't changed much. We were selling our appointment booking center before we used Eliza, but then as Eliza came along, we were able to scale much faster, much more confident. And then I was able to sell more of it on the front end because I wasn't concerned that we wouldn't be able to fulfill. So it just ramped up our ability to sell. And with the clients, it's like, hey, do you see the value in having speed to lead? Do you see the value in being able to book more patients, get more appointments in, add more revenue to your practice? And the answer is never no to those questions. So with us, it just gave us the ability to scale more clients by selling the service. And through our diagnosis with clients, we'll figure out just if it makes sense to sell it up front, or if it makes sense to kind of keep an eye on them for 30 days and then sell it to them once they realize that they really, really need it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I don't even think you guys notice this, but Cayden uses words like supercharge. Bref uses words like diagnose. That's a clear indication that these guys care about their industries, right? And that's what I'm telling you. These are normal days, right? Just a random side note, but I appreciate that. Dave, I know you got a lot of clients, and you're still doing fitness, right, Dave?
Yeah. So my question for some of you guys here, like we have 130 something clients, and we do all the lead nurturing for our clients as well. But we're not using Eliza. So, and the two things that were holding me back before, and I was actually speaking to Robin right before this call too, is one, our agents right now, like we can set 2 appointments per time slot, and they have the ability that if 2 appointments are already booked, they can go manually just go text the owner and ask them, it's like, hey, do you have space for one more person here? And then they can go manually override. Like they just go to the calendar and just book that person in and just add that one in. So I think you can easily just manually override and add a slot, but how do you guys potentially deal with having your agents reach out to the owner if they have any additional questions?
Brad or Cayden, and it sounds like a fulfillment side of it.
So the one, and this is already on NASA's wish list from me, along with Stripe to Pay. You have to understand that at this point in time, unless you're going to go over to your GHL account, your agent is going to be limited by that calendar feature, just like in GHL. They're not going to be able to go in and manually add somebody in. So they're going to have to do that kind of step over to the GHL platform to do that. But in that instance, if we have that problem, what we do is either one, we warm transfer to the practice or just do a transfer, like a check-in type thing. Or we just know that in that instance, we have the green light from the practice to book a third patient in a slot. But it's a question that I do. Bref, usually we'll handle on a sales call. We'll handle from a client success. But we want really, like, we have a high value patient who says like, this is the only time that I have available. We want to try to move heaven and earth at that practice to get that person in. It's just, they're worth too much money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sometimes our team just needs to let the owner know something. Maybe it's not about changing a time or making sure that they can squeeze somebody in. It's maybe letting them know it's like, hey, this person is bringing a child with them to their gym, to their class today. Can you save a spot in childcare for them? And so there's not, I don't know a way to replicate doing that with Eliza, or if you guys have figured out a way to do something like that.
Could you do this with like dispositions and have separate scenarios for each of those pop-ups, Brad or Cayden?
I was going to suggest using the dispositions for that. That's one way to do it. But what kind of would make more sense to me is just to include that in the appointment notes for the agent, and then set up your client notification workflows to include the appointment notes in the notification so they can see that. So if there is a unique case like that, just instruct your agent to leave it in the appointment notes and then have that set up to go to the client so they are aware.
Okay, it's possible.
I just think on the sales side, it's just matter of product knowledge, scenario knowledge, right? So you're going to have to build up these one-off scenarios for a lot of those agents, but eventually they get to a point where they can handle a lot of scenarios. And we do this on our customer support side, right? All these tickets come in and they have so many different one-off scenarios, but eventually you'll notice that they can be categorized. They can be in some way bucketed up, and you can really have solutions. And like Brad said, this is an evolving ship, right? NASA and Robin and those guys are constantly listening to the top agencies and how those scenarios are. So Dave, if you come in and you have a specific scenarios, my gut tells me NASA and Robin are going to build something there, right? If it's relevant for everybody else. And that's just it's really a partnership. It's not like, hey guys, here you go, pay, a couple of $1,000s a month and rest is history. No, it's really a partnership between a lot of these agencies, which is why I'm saying the smaller agencies, I don't think they're ready for Eliza. That I just think you have to have enough use case scenarios to bring to the table so we consistently improve it before we open it up to the mass market, if that even something we want to do, honestly. But hopefully that gives you some clarity, Dave.
This is Nando again. Is Eliza included in the packages, or is that an added feature set?
No, it's an add, and if you go to Marketplace, the language probably won't make any sense, but it is a separate package from what you normally would pay from subscriptions, and you have to get it integrated. There is a rollover side and the platform side, but I would say jump on a call with the Marketplace agent, Nando, and they'll be able to kind of go over that with you of what's the actual package and things like that. But it is not included, just so you know. It's a separate optional thing. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, is it per agent fee? $99 per agent per month?
I think the package includes up to 5 agents. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, it's up to 5 agents. Yeah. It's up to 5 agents. Yeah, and I think after 5 agents, it's per seat, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And I promise you, I mean, Brad especially, and Cayden too, is like, even if you guys charge more, we would still want that thing. Just like these guys have told us we can charge more in the past several times, but we don't do that because we want scale. Like Brad, you can be my witness if you don't mind.
I tell you all the time. I mean, I think we have every feature, right, Brad? Like I don't know how much we spend on GHL in a month, but it's all worth it because again, the cost of those services for what we can go out and bill in a 30-day period is absolutely impressive. I might disagree with you a little bit on the 100 accounts, only because I think again, if you like what you're talking about, if you niche down, your avatar, and that is something that allows you to charge an additional 1,000, 1,500. That can help you scale very quickly along with the SaaS and everything else. So I don't think that agencies with 10 should probably look at it, but I don't know. We can have a friendly discussion around, whether or not you're at, somewhere between 50 and 75. I would say, I think depending on your situation, it would make sense.
Yeah, I just feel like anybody under 100 is still trying to figure out the industry, and that's really where I'm coming from. But I'm not. I mean, there are plenty of agencies with like 20 clients in Eliza. But if agencies with like 300 clients are going through certain scenarios, we're more than likely going to build out solutions there versus somebody who has a request with 20 clients. Not that we won't treat everybody equally, but it's just they come up with different scenarios that are more relevant for everybody, and that's what I mean by that. Philip, did you have a follow-up, or was that somebody else?
This is Nando. Basically, when you said 99 for 5 agents, is that 5 accounts that you can plug into it? I'm trying to define what the agent means.
Yeah, so
people using the platform. So accounts I think it's unlimited accounts. So as many GHL accounts as you have, you can plug into Eliza, but it's just the number of people that are actually using the Eliza agent platform and talking and having the conversations.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. I think
have a question real quick for you.
Yeah, that
Paul.
was you. Yes,
Okay.
yes, go for it. Go
Thank
for
you.
it.
Thank you. Do you know if Eliza is going to be integrated with WhatsApp when the time comes?
I think WhatsApp on its own needs to be integrated in a better way, but really the hard part is WhatsApp. It's not even us. So really overall high level and Eliza, we're still pending on the folks at WhatsApp and what they're developing out. But I would say go to the town hall meetings. They probably will have better, timeline of what's coming, what they've improved, telecom laws, and all those things. I would be the last person to comment on the tech side of things, but I do know WhatsApp is part of the thing. The financial pieces like Stripe to Pay, authorized.net, there's several things that a lot of the agencies have requested that'll make these appointment bookings like a lot easier and things like that. So yeah, definitely I would say go to the town hall meetings to get better overview. But I do think that's all part of it. Like, yeah, we definitely have to be integrating with almost every platform that has inbound leads, right? Inbound conversations. All of international market is pretty much on WhatsApp. So yeah, definitely. But it's nearly impossible to try to get a hold of anybody there to just have fruitful conversations.
I can imagine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
But guys, I know we went over about 10-15 minutes. I want the panelists, all four of them, to take a few minutes and just give us their final thoughts on it, and we'll just end it there. Hopefully this structure was helpful and organized enough to give us some good clarity. Let's go with Bref and Brad, and then Kieran and Cayden after.
Yeah, I mean, like on the sales side, it will help you sell more stuff no matter what niche you're in. Brad will talk more about fulfillment, but it's given us confidence to put it into offers, to go sell it, and it's enabled us to do it at speed. So I would say do it.
The nugget I would leave with anybody thinking of doing this, if you're doing it already, is just look at how many person dependent processes you already have in your call center, booking center process, and imagine removing 40% of those and how much more efficient, more money you're going to make, what your margins are going to look like. I've never doubted the investment. Yeah, it was a little bit of a rough ride early on as it was getting built out, but it's at the point now. No, honestly, early on, it wasn't as pretty as it is now, but it's fabulous. I mean, if you're looking at getting in, this would be the time, because I think, like I said, Cayden and I are both, pretty creative with what we do and how we use it. But it is really nice in terms of how it ties into workflows and what you can do with it.
Yeah, I think bottom line, Eliza has really helped our delivery process. It's kept our operating expenses low as a business while increasing our output. It's made the quality of life of our agents higher and made them enjoy what they're doing day to day a lot more without all the technical difficulties that they were facing prior. There's the other thing is the customization, the ability to really make it your own, and how open the folks at Go High Level are, such as Paulson and the rest of the team. I would definitely recommend contacting Cayden or Brad, definitely to get more insight on kind of how you can build out your own workflows and structures around these tools, even in GHL outside of Eliza. But yeah, it's been amazing. It's like I said earlier, it's probably doubled our output and our ceiling for the amount of clients that we can service with the headcount that we have at our agency, employees wise, at the moment. So it's been great.
It's an absolute no-brainer. That's all I'm going to say for that minimum client count, which I don't really know what number I'd put it at. I think it's situational, but one of the things that I'm a huge fan of is always anticipating your client's next problem and then finding a way to solve it for them. So it makes complete sense to use a platform like Eliza to anticipate those problems, which for most niches is sales and closing the leads. So anticipate that problem, build a solution around it, which, like Kieran said, Brad and I are more than happy to help people if they want help implementing Eliza into their own agency. And then once you do that, it gives you some massive freedoms in terms of packaging offers and selling high ticket to new clients. So yeah, no brainer.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate all of you jumping in. A ton of great questions. I feel like we got through this webinar pretty structured and evened out, and everybody got enough chance to share their thoughts. And if you guys are watching it on replay, throw those comments down, whether it's on YouTube or the Facebook group or whatever. people will go through it. Even other agencies that are using Eliza may have additional things that they can bring in. There was also another agency that I wanted to bring in. They're in the insurance space, but they're actually going through an acquisition process. And so I don't want to obviously mention any names and things like that. But it's that kind of opportunity that you will have if you're playing the cards right, right? But either way, I appreciate you jumping in. The replays will be on YouTube. If you have questions, reach out to Cayden, Brad. They may have offers and things like that, which are not obviously part of High Level, but I trust these guys to serve you the best way possible. And Bref and Kieran, thank you for jumping in as well. I appreciate both of you as well. Take care.